some screen tearing. What is causing that? What is causing that? He said to himself. Yeah, that's really weird. It might just be because I haven't. There we are. Boy, this looks great. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any screen tearing now. I think it was just a foible of the headset as we set up. Now, I should be able to move forward, I think. I can't remember what I used to move forward in this game, too. Well, let me just try sitting forward a bit. No, it didn't work. There, that's what I needed to do. Paradoxically, to get closer to the controls, I had to lean back. All right, left rudder's working, right rudder's working. Aileron's working. Flaps appear to be down. Okay, let's see if we've got throttle going on here. Oh wait, I might have a park brake on. Where's my park? I used to fly one of these. I should remember where the park brake is. Goodness gracious. Great balls of fire. I had a friend who talked like that. I guess he thought he was amusing. Park brake, where is the park brake? Oh, is this it here? No, that's flaps. God, Dave, you owned one of these airplanes. I must be just getting old and foolish. Okay, what about... This is the brake. It only has a single brake. There's no brakes on the rudder pedals on the pacer or tri-pacer. God. Well, let's see how it flies. Rudder's really sensitive. Got off the ground fast. I don't remember my tri-pacer jumping off the ground quite that quick, but they do get in the air pretty good. And they are, pretty nice airplanes to fly. You can see drifting off the center line. Well, it's been a while since I flew. You can see that the elevator trim is working. I'm looking at it now. It looks like a window winder. In fact, that's what it is. I think they just bought window winders from 56 Ford production. Interesting thing, they had generators too rather than alternators. When we were rebuilding our tri-pacer, Cecil and I, we couldn't find a generator. So I spent a couple grand converting it to an alternator, which was a good idea. And anyway, the generators would come off the Ford assembly line, the same assembly line that made automobile generators that they sold for $25. They'd stop the line, put a new stamp on the line, so it stamped A for aviation onto the generator, and that, I think, trebled or quadrupled the price. Not because the generator was any better, but because I think with A for aviation stamped on it, Ford had more liability, more responsibility. I don't know. I just always found it amusing. The problem is, of course, even though it's the same generator, I couldn't just buy a 1956 generator from a car, a replacement generator or an original one, and put it in the airplane. If it doesn't have that A stamp on it, you don't have a legally certified aircraft. Okay, I'm just trying to... Ooh, I don't want to go that much. It's kind of a hold your tongue just so, trying to get the trim right. Yeah, see? Take my hand off the stick and see what happens. Nose is settling down. Let's see what it stabilizes. I don't need full throttle here. I can throttle back a bit. And we should be trimmed pretty close, maybe. Yeah, pretty close. It's so much easier in real life, you know. You put the attitude of the airplane where you want it, and then you use the trim until there's no pressure on the stick. Oh, this is a little shimmery. Yeah, okay, frame rate's dropping there. Not happy with that. Let's see what I can do about frame rate. Settings. Boy, everything's so beautiful and clear here. Let's go to VR. I am going to go to performance, I think, here, and see if we notice a big difference. Confirm. Reprojection mode is off. I don't think reprojection mode works very well on the Pimax headsets. I do have to say that the yeah. Well, I know this headset does require more than my Pimax OG crystal, but it does look a little better. And the thing for me is that with this widescreen, it's a little bit better for flying. I don't feel like I'm locked into a motorcycle helmet or a pair of scuba goggles. I still would like a wider field of view. I know that probably sounds crazy, but because most people just don't care, but I do. I like that wild field. My 8KX is still the best field of view I've ever had. But this is so much clearer that, you know, there's really no going back. And this seems a little better. I'm not sure why I'm not seeing my frames per second. Sloppy turn, sloppy turn, sloppy turn. We're over Seattle. Seattle area is a Boeing field. When I was a very little boy, my mom and dad took us kids down to see our auntie, who lived in Washington State by Seattle. I think she finished up her life in Auburn, but she was married to a guy in Seattle, and he had an airplane. And I was 3 years old, but it's my clearest memory of the trip, other than hurting my feet walking on a rocky beach at the ocean. Didn't really notice the ocean, noticed the rocks were sharp. But when we got in the airplane, the thing that I noticed was how cool it was. I just loved the whole thing about flying. And what I remembered from that day on was him reaching up and winding the trim arm there. And, I guess I should retract flaps, huh? There we go. Got it mapped backwards. I remember that to this day. And when I first flew a tri-pacer, I always wondered what he'd been doing. And then when I started flying the tri-pacer, I went, oh, okay, it's the trim arm. It actually works pretty well. It changes the angle of the horizontal stabilizer rather than affecting the elevator, but it still trims the aircraft nicely. I found it an easy system to use. The Cessna 150 was easier, and I'm one of those guys who preferred the 150 to the 172. Our club had a 172, and I never did like it. I found it, I don't know what I didn't like about it, I just didn't. The 150 was a much nicer airplane to fly as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure I would have loved the 182, but I never got a chance to try that. But I did like Cherokees, and I like this Piper, although I'll tell you what, when you are practicing emergency landings, you quickly learn in the Tri-Pacer that if you can see it over the nose, engine off, you're probably not going to reach it. So I always like to fly, 1,000 feet higher than I normally would, just to give myself a little extra time in case something happened. Because it's not that the Tri-Pacer was difficult to land or that it took a lot of runway, but it landed very steeply. The descent angle looked like you put wings on a brick, but it still landed at a reasonable speed, probably about the same as a 172, but the angle of descent was much, much steeper. So with a 172, I'd be looking way forward somewhere to find a landing area, and with the Tri-Pacer, I'd be doing this. Okay, what's below me? But I did love that airplane. Yeah, I think I'm having a few issues. Yeah, definitely. I'm getting a little bit of jerky motion here. I'm not convinced that I'm going to land. I'm not convinced that this Nvidia 5070 Ti is an improvement on my 3090. The 3090 had more memory, and also I think maybe I don't have enough computing power, because I've just got an old Intel 9900 that only works to 3.2 gigahertz. It can't be overclocked. And in some ways, Flight Sim 2024 is kind of CPU bound. Okay, I'm not leaving the airspace.
Boeing Tower, X-ray Alpha Foxtrot Oscar X-ray, frequency change.
I'm just going to land. Let's see if I can get this thing to descend as quickly as it did in real life. I don't want to use any more flap than I have to. I love being able to see the traffic on the road so clearly. And this is not set for extremely high graphics. I mean, I'm going to have to upgrade this computer next year if I want to keep flying VR at a high level. One more notch of flaps. Yeah, I may be just imagining this, but it seems to me that my Tri-Pacer descended a little quicker than this. I don't know. This is a nice model, though. The Tri-Pacer was not a particularly difficult airplane to fly. I would have preferred the Pacer version of it because it looked nicer, but as a practical airplane, I think the Tri-Pacer is really quite a good one. Oh, man. When you run out of lift in this thing, you run out of lift. All right. Let's get on the brake here. Yeah, see, and I'm getting a little bit of vertigo here from the sudden, the odd movement. So I'm going to have to do some farting around here. I can see that I may not be able to do a lot of this flight sim with this particular Pimax headset, much as I love it. I just don't think it's going to work for me. Flight Sim 2024, because it's the first time I've ever felt a little bit nauseous in a flight sim. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and thanks to the folks who, the 2 or 3 folks who on my last video sent their sympathies to me for losing my dog Willow, whom I will miss forever. But thank you guys for your sympathy. I appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone who joins me on this channel to put up with my rambling and yabbering and storytelling. I hope you enjoyed a little bit, and I hope you got something out of it. Anyhow, that's about it for today. So thank you very much for being here, and we'll talk soon.